venue, and you filled it all with such great enthusiasm. I'm totally psyched. I'm a huge fan of TED and TEDx, and the idea of spreading big ideas, and they've created such a great platform for that. And Western University, one of Canada's great incubators of young minds, is such a great place for us to come together to share our ideas. We Press, the charity that I founded, started with an idea, albeit a little one, but one that grew. I'll tell you a little bit about it. About 6 years ago, I was home alone with a 4-year-old. Our daddy was deployed to Afghanistan. And I had a notion for a children's picture book that would teach the concept of time zones to young readers. But more than that, as we went around the world hour by hour, time zone by time zone, it would also give children a look into the lives of other children and foster that sense of global-mindedness. So flash forward 6 years, and the world has shrunk incredibly. That millennial kid is now 10 years old and fully a member of Generation We. She's more connected to the rest of the world than I could ever have imagined at her age. And who could blame her in this globally wired world that she was growing up in? We are so totally connected these days. I can, through the internet, I can monitor your movements, track your thoughts, I can participate in your moments, I can know where you're going, what you're doing, and what you looked like when you got there. It's an interesting side note that a recent study of college students put Facebook as the second most important priority. Actually, it was tied for second with beer among university undergraduates. I know you're wondering what was first, aren't you? But it was the iPod. And here we are uploading ourselves to this global brain, this cloud collective consciousness. Even children in the remotest parts of the world, through projects like One Laptop Per Child, are being connected to our global consciousness. You, me, everyone else, we're all being brought closer together through technology. More like cells now in this human system called humanity. This is our first book. It's called Around the World in the Blink of an Eye. Truly global picture book. It was created by 25 artists from around the world. One of the great features about it is how children are responding to it. It's highly interactive and engaging. It features the lives of children from around the world, a little glimpse into their lives, and it reminds kids how similar we are in spite of our differences, that we all love to play, that we all share moments with our families. And in spite of our differences and our uniquenesses, we're all very much the same, though the color and texture of that sameness may vary a little bit. Around the World was created by 25 artists, 24 artists, each representing their time zones, and Chris Rashka, Caldecott Medal winner, created our cover. This is a book that could not have been created before the internet brought us close enough together to reach into the remotest corners of the world and find the artists to represent their time zones. But these 25 people rallied around a cause. They were all committed to the idea that together we could create a book that would raise the awareness about our global need to educate the world's children. And that through the sales of this book, that we could raise funds and actually do something about it. Books that beget books and make new readers is very organic. As an MBA business major, I could speak to you about objectives, mission, vision, and strategy. But really, behind We Press is a big idea. And the big idea is education for all. Now, if Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Kanon, Bob Geldof, and Bono, the Education for All Dream Team, have yet to convince the world that educating the world's children, as our Millennium Development Goal promise would suggest, and providing the world's children with a universal primary education by 2015. If the Dream Team haven't convinced you of that fact, then I don't suspect we press will move the needle too much. But what we can do is help to create the next generation of global thinkers. And that's what we're really about. It's this idea, it's not the book, no matter how spectacular it may be. It's the idea that we can bring ourselves closer together through the global mindedness of the premise. I'm a storyteller. The easiest way for me to tell a story is, the easiest way for me to explain a notion is through a story. I believe that we all live, that doing good is not just an impulse, that it's an instinct for us. And that what I did with Repress is not remarkable, that its real distinction is that any of us could have done it. And that the instinct to do good is what drives us forward. You'll soon meet a speaker, Ray Zahab, who's an extreme case of that, who went from a pack a day and a sedentary lifestyle to running across the Sahara Desert for 111 days to raise global consciousness about the water crisis in Africa. Now, Ray's an extreme example, I appreciate that. But what he does is remind us of the hero within all of us. And I think that's what he touches, is that notion that when we see somebody owning their passion, that we get the inspiration to search for our own and think that maybe there's something like it that we could do too. So in the 60s, great thinker, professor of comparative religion and mythology at Sarah Lawrence College named Joseph Campbell produced his seminal work. It was called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And what he told us was that heroes in all of our stories, in myth and parable of religion, in fairy tales and fables and allegory, through time immemorial, across all continents, in cultures that were totally disconnected, that we continue to tell ourselves the same story along the same story arc. And that the story is a way of tapping into that instinct that we all have, that reminder that we all want to live an important life and do something important with it. And it's amazing, really, to think that across cultures that we're not connected, that the same story arc repeated itself again and again. And it's that reminder that we keep needing to search within ourselves for that instinct to do good and that passion. So I'm going to use some of the our modern pantheon of myth, from some of our books and movies, to remind you of some of the elements of that story arc, the hero's journey. And I'll remind you that the hero in those stories is you, and that the characters are merely symbolic. So you'll be pleased to know that heroes are very ordinary people. They come from very ordinary places, like the cupboard under the stairs, so you don't have to worry. And they've all been called to their mission, their journey. Now, all of them refused it and needed to be pushed in. And they all came back. They faced their dragons, their basilisks, and came back with a boon, the magical gift. And it was a boon for all society. And that, I think, is a key element to remember, that the gift is one to share. All of our heroes were orphans. There's a reason behind that. It's a message that we have to cut the apron string, that we don't receive wisdom, we have to discover it for ourselves after a journey that no one can take for us or spare us, or so says Marcel Proust. This year, in 2011, we're going to be joining forces with Ray Zahab and his team at Impossible to Possible, and we'll be reaching into some new communities. We're making a community, reaching out to you where you live, on your platforms, and making it possible that with a click of support, you can help children to read around the world. We'll be launching an expedition that's going to take 5 adventuresome teens as teen ambassadors along with Ray, and have an experiential education for all trip to Africa. So I'd encourage you to join us on that. So like those crazy stem cells in this human system of humanity, the ones that can differentiate themselves into kidney or liver or any type of cell, I encourage you to look inside and consider what kind of journey you want and what kind of cell you will be on this human system of humanity. Thank you.